Hey guys, OgreBarberian here. And I know there's been a lot of talk lately regarding the current meta, which is Deathstroke, Harley Quinn, Mad Jester, and Lobo, and how much they are just so annoying to fight against right now because everybody seems to be using some combination of these characters. And I do mean just about everybody is using them. A lot of Deathstroke lead out there, and he's not super difficult to beat if you know what you're looking for in a character to beat him. So something I was going to do was just go over every character that I have access to, which is all but four. So, I mean, just to give you an idea who can, fight against this monster, or these monsters, I should say. So we'll start with Mirror Master and work our way up. Mirror Master doesn't really seem like he'd be a good character to go against this team with. I mean, he does have some invisibility, which is nice. He does have some shield, which is nice. But other than that, he's just a little bit of a control character. He just is not very good against these teams right now. Sadly, because he's really cool, and I personally wish I had him up higher, but you know. All right, Raven. Raven is an interesting pick because I believe, yeah, this legendary for Daughter of Trigon is one of the absolute best counters to this particular meta. Unfortunately for Raven, she is very, very squishy and has an affinity disadvantage to all three of the characters in question, being that she's a mystic and they're all three physical. So she is a good counter if she can get protection, and by that I mean that she needs to have another taunter on her team who can taunt away, the attention so that she can get her turn, because she's also fairly slow. Um, but overall, I'd give her a good solid B on the counter rating. Jessica Cruz, I don't think she really offers much anything to counter these teams. None of her abilities really interact with them favorably, aside from, getting the shield from the AoE on Harley, potentially. Mara, on the other hand, she's quite good against the meta because she can grant, where is it? Yeah, heal immunity to the target, so that can take down Lobo, and then damage immunity on favor of the sea, which is really, really helpful. And then she also has some turn meter up, so she can if she can survive long enough and again get some protection from pulling off fire from her, she can do some work. Hawk Girl, sadly, probably not going to do a whole lot against these teams. She doesn't have anything that helps her hit. She doesn't have anything to remove all the buffs. She does purge from your team, but those three don't really debuff you aside from the few bleeds that Lobo grants and the silence that Deathstroke has. I mean, I guess there is the intelligence down on Harley, but I mean, you're not going to worry about that as much. And then there's the enrage, but Hawk Girl's just too slow to actually do anything, unfortunately. Aquamoa, I don't think he really fits in right now at all. His moveset just doesn't offer anything, unfortunately, to try and stop them. Black Adam, same thing. He doesn't really offer anything to try and stop those three. And being Mystic, he just kind of gets rolled over. Cyborg Superman, on the other hand, if you did get a chance to obtain him, he cannot miss on his basic attack. So that's really good, and it also makes him so his next move, whatever it is, isn't going to miss. So, I mean, that's just really good. Purge all positive immunities and awareness from the target, which is really handy against Deathstroke. Just because, well, he's annoying. I know his boulder throw is really, really powerful, just from watching videos from other people. So he seems like a good counter if you do have him. I unfortunately do not. Harley Quite Vexing is in a position where she's not really terribly amazing, other than if you have her Distract and Destroy powered up. She does get that call assist, and then I thought, oh yeah, she does have some true damage also. It's not super worth it, I don't think. Yeah, she's, aside from the assist call, she's not terribly good. The true damage is good because it does remove all of the awareness on Deathstroke, but it's just not enough. Ares, I don't really think he offers much, other than you actually benefit from the enrage that Harley does. So I mean, it's not the worst way to try and counter her if you do have him. So Terra is very, very good just because of this upgrade right here. She's going to apply a ton of evasion down, and it cannot miss if you have her at legendary. Not to mention, you can potentially double hit with her tremor if you got her to L2. So she's fairly solid. She also has some nice shielding to help protect your team a little bit. So she's definitely a worthwhile pick if you're going to go up against this meta, if you got her. Blue Beetle, I believe it's Beetle Blast, where, yeah, if you got this legendary, you can purge all immunities and awareness. If the enemy's unshielded, guess what? Deathstroke does not shield, not an issue, unless somebody else on the team shields him. So, I mean, that's a bonus. But again, he suffers from being a mystic against all these physicals. Firestorm offers a lot of damage, but doesn't have anything in his kit really to offer. So he's not really a terribly good pick. Alright, I got it back. Alright. Sorry about that. Catwoman, she is a very, very good counter just because of the legendary on her hit and run. First one's going to remove all buffs from the enemy. Second one will stun them regardless. So if you got her L1, L2, she's definitely a worthwhile pick. So she also protects herself by going invisible. So Black Canary, not terrible pick. Can turn meter control some of them, but I wouldn't say she's terribly amazing as a pick against them, except for the evasion. So I wouldn't necessarily use her. Scarecrow, it's supposed to be pretty good from what I understand. So where was it? Anyway, he just offers a bunch of hit chance downs. I don't know if he's terribly good against any of them particularly, other than he essentially gives everybody on your team an evasion stack when he gives them the hit chance down. Batgirl offers the call assist if there's no buffs, which doesn't really help at all. However, she does remove quite a few buffs with, what is it, total of 3. Gives them some turn meter down. It's not terrible. And then the Mist Me counter chance, when she does evade, does remove up to 3 buffs. So you can, if you can keep her alive and you can get some evasion attack on her if they swing at her, she's going to remove their buffs. So, I mean, that is definitely a plus. She seems like an okay pick. Defender of Justice is definitely a solid pick. Although I think it was this upgrade that you wanted to purge 7 buffs. I did not take that one, but I'm an idiot sometimes. It just happens. I have no intention of using her. She's still level 1, so I mean, what do you want from me? But if you have her and you have that particular Lasso of Truth upgrade, then she's worthwhile. She also, taunts to defend your team a little bit. Steppenwolf, I'm not really sure if he counters any of them in particularly. He does give your team hit chance up in a couple of different ways, which is, good to counter evasion. And he can counterattack if any of your allies miss, which is really good, and it also plays the evasion downs, and it can't miss. So I guess he counters Harley. Or he attempts to counter Harley, at least. I don't particularly know. From what I understand, he's supposed to be pretty good against her. John Stewart, not terribly amazing in the meta right now. Doesn't really offer anything special, I guess. Reverse Flash, he's supposed to be pretty good, just because some of his upgrades he can use multiple attacks. He just kind of eats through all the awareness that way. He doesn't have anything against Harley or Lobo, but he's supposed to be okay against Deathstroke. Wonder Woman, after her rework, she's supposed to be pretty good against the meta right now, but she does suffer from that. I'm a mystic and they're all physical. However, she is very tanky. She's on that very tanky heavy gear set, so at least she can take a couple of hits. Probably not a ton. Katana is supposed to be really good against the meta just because, which move was it? Well, her first move can't miss and steals buffs. I think that was the one that you really needed to do. And then this also gives you a chance to use her heal, which is nice, but right there is your main upgrade. Is just can't miss. Steal 2 buffs. It's not terrible. Stealing their buffs. Not missing is the big deal. So she's supposed to be okay. Champion of the Amazon doesn't really offer much right now, other than that she can potentially counterattack, and I believe her upgrade cannot miss is somewhere also. I don't know. Oh yeah, just it can't miss naturally. That's what it is. All right, so Goddess of War, not terrible against anybody here. Her double strike does offer a % chance to call an assist, or an additional assist, even if you have a legendary upgrade there. So having multiple assists, you're just eating through the awareness fairly quickly. Superman, one of the absolute best counters, in that he just absolutely destroys it because he has the true damage, which removes all the awareness, and then he applies the buff immunity and the heal immunity, and the heal immunity is going to just destroy Deathstroke, or not Deathstroke, Lobo. So, and the buff immunity is going to destroy Deathstroke. So, I mean, he does offer quite a bit, and that's the only upgrade you absolutely have to have. I unfortunately went with this one before now, so, I mean, can't really complain. I would have to get him to L2. Probably never going to use him. He's only level 25, sitting at gear 2, so. Damage goods, probably not terribly good against this meta right now. His gangsta ability just doesn't do enough for him, and then his stun is okay, but again, he doesn't have a real good way of removing Harley or Deathstroke or Lobo from the fight, so he's not a really good pick right now. Same kind of goes for Joker. He does have bleeds in his kit, which do eat through awareness really rapidly. So there is that. But other than that, he doesn't really offer a whole lot to the team. He doesn't have a bunch of coolness like some of the others. Sinestro, kind of an interesting pick if you do, because if the target is taunting, he purges 8 buffs. So could potentially just remove Harley altogether from the fight, as far as making her taunts and evasions worse, except that it doesn't say that it cannot miss, which means that she could still evade it. which means he could get counterattacked in the face, which, you know, so anyway, if you use Sinestro, please let's know your thoughts, because he seems like he'd be an okay pick. Batman doesn't really seem to offer much, honestly. His kit just doesn't really help in the current meta. Hippolyta, she can do okay. She has the assist call, and then you can have an additional assist call if you have the legendary upgrade. And then her other abilities just kind of protect the team a little bit, but they're not terribly good. But she can potentially gain some death immunity, which is nice. So, I mean, she's okay. I wouldn't say she's necessarily. Okay, so this one's interesting because the wrist guns on Hired Gun Deadshot do true damage, and true damage removes all the awareness from Deathstroke, so that's really handy. It also bypasses evasion, at least I think so. And then also giving all your characters the ability to crit on turn 1 is really handy as well. So he's decent. Killer Frost just brings a lot of stun power. That's really all she is. She is there to stun people, slow them down. And that's perfectly fine, because that's her job. She's also going to remove the shields from the target. But your main one here is going to be, let's just slow you down, stun you, and take you out of the fight altogether if we can. So she can definitely control the other opposing team if there's not a Harley or something through mixing it up for you. She can help out. I wouldn't say she's terribly good though. Supergirl, not going to be one of your primary choices again. Same thing. She does a lot of AoEs, so she's at least removing a stack of awareness every time she swings. But other than that, I wouldn't say she's terribly amazing right now. Alright, Assault Warsuit Lex, his anti-alien strike when upgraded is going to give you an amazing ability. It's going to hit because of the plus 100% hit chance on the legendary if you have it. And it's going to purge 8 buffs and apply up to 2 to 4 strength downs, which all 3 of the characters in question do physical damage, so they're going to rely on their strength. So having those strength downs is also nice. Not only that, but if you have the other ability upgraded, you have his damage immunity. He's going to be just kind of tanky as heck, and they're not going to be able to eat through him because they don't have any buff purging. So, I think he's a really good pick right now, personally. Arcus. Supposedly Arcus is pretty good. If you can remove the awareness in some way, you can just one-shot Deathstroke. Just blow him away with his issue challenge because, well, energy versus physical. So Arcus is a decent pick. Star Sapphire. This ability used to be bugged to where it would just give buff immunity to everybody regardless, and now it's been fixed, so it's not quite as good. She definitely could use an update. She just seems underpowered at times, but if you do use her, she does offer a lot of strength downs in her kit, and she can purge your guys, heal your guys, and keep them in the fight a little bit longer. So, but she would definitely need a taunter to protect her a little bit. Vixen. Well, one thing about Vixen, she is going to be tanky, and she offers bleeds. If you have the upgrade, she can stun. So bleeds are a great way to get through awareness, as I've said, and then stunning is also very handy. I do think she has... Oh yeah. Apply buff immunity could be really cool. But I thought there was... No, I guess not. I thought she had one that couldn't miss in the notification, but I guess that was wrong. I don't know. So anyway, bleeds, great way to remove awareness. Arrow doesn't seem like the greatest, other than that his leader ability is still really good. Giving everybody strength downs and agility, downs and tournament downs, and just he's got an overall kit that really screams like it should be okay right now against those 3. The problem is he has to hit Harley in order to affect her, and then her counterattack could potentially just nuke his face. And that's what a lot of problems with a lot of characters are right now. Dr. Fate, definitely one of the better counters that you can potentially have. Purging 7 buffs from the target is going to be your primary legendary. Not to mention you have the hit chance ups and a huge, huge shield that he can grant. And then he also offers his heal immunity, 60% chance. And then he also offers heal immunity on Wrath of Osiris. So he definitely seems like he could get in there, destroy Lobo, destroy Harley if he gets enough hit. He'll probably want to taunter with him just so he can use his Naboo's protection before he goes into his Wrath of Osiris to purge all his buffs. So, Swamp Thing, wouldn't say he's terribly good right now. He doesn't really offer a ton, unless you're using Deathstroke, in which case, I don't care. Doomsday, well, if you can get the awareness off, he can potentially one-shot a Deathstroke fairly quickly with his Devastator, but other than that, I wouldn't say he's terribly good. Batman, definitely one of your better options just because he can remove all the taunts and buffs and can't miss, and so it's definitely a worthwhile move. He can also be very tanky. I've seen him be very, very tanky and really hard to take down sometimes. So yeah, he has a lot of potential to be really good right now against Harley and Lobo. Cyborg, again, same thing. If you can remove the awareness, he's going to obliterate Deathstroke in one shot. Plus, he has the hit chance on his Triangulating Blast, which is going to be helpful against Harley. So he's very strong in the current meta, I think, against those two. If your opponent has a Lobo that's ungeared, you're just going to kill him every time, so just be aware of that. Harley Quinn herself, she's actually a decent counter against Deathstroke just because of her double hit and her counterattack. So if you have her counterattack and then you have her double hit upgrade, she can take down Deathstroke fairly easily. Not to mention you're going to protect the rest of your team with, getting the evasion and a taunt early on. So it's worthwhile if you use her. But again, she's part of the problem, so. Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. This is your primary weapon. You're going to try and stun him, purge all the buffs. And then you also have the Call Assist to help remove some awareness quickly as well. So he's okay. And not to mention they actually fixed his immunity. So if you took the legendary to gain the Enrage and Silence immunity, guess what? It does work, and you will not get enraged by Harley Quinn. Alright, Lex Luthor. This guy seems like he'd be really good right now. Purging buffs on his basic attack and applying buff immunity if he's above 50%. So even if he does get enraged by Harley, you're still removing buffs and applying buff immunity if he does connect. Really good against Deathstroke because you hit him, remove a bunch of his awareness, and then I believe up to 5 or something, 4, and then apply the heal immunity or the buff immunity so that he can't gain any buffs, and then you can just go about killing the team regardless. He can't do anything about it. Bizarro. I mean, I guess his Flame Breath would be okay just because it applies some bleed stacks. He has some odd upgrades on him to where he'd be mediocre. He'd be okay if he's on the right team because bleeds are, again, a great way to get rid of awareness. Bane, I wouldn't say he's terribly good right now. He's not going to help you against the current meta all that much. Zatanna, alright, so this one is interesting because she is a buff removing machine if you take her first legendary here to purge 2 buffs on her basic attack. Plus you have her rabbit to purge, up to 6 buffs. I mean, she can definitely eat through all their buffs as long as she connects. And that's the trick, right? Alright, so Livewire is a really interesting pick because she offers a lot of extra attack chances, and those extra attack chances are just going to eat through awareness really quickly. You're going to, be able to evade your way to victory with her because she does have a huge stack of evasion at the start of battle. So she's definitely a good pick right now, especially being energy. Enchantress, I wouldn't say is terribly good right now. She doesn't seem like she would fit against this meta right now. She doesn't offer anything, unfortunately. Robin, kind of same thing. He's not going to really offer a whole lot to your team other than his Niten and Ichiryu blade stacks, but you have to be invisible for that, so not terribly good right now against the meta. Huntress, well, the second upgrade, aside from the true damage if they're below 50%, is heal immunity. So if you have that, then she's great against Lobos. You just blast them with their basic attack, and they're not getting back up. So that's what matters. Deathstroke. If you're trying to beat Deathstroke without Deathstroke, wow, enough said. If you're trying to beat other teams that have Deathstroke, well, that's what I'm trying to do here. Poison Ivy. Depending on the team you have her on, she's actually really good in this meta, I think. Her anaphylactic shock, being able to apply some strength downs, her speed down on her basic. She can force a taunt, which is really nice because it can allow some of the tanky characters like Bane or Chemo, who otherwise can't taunt, the ability to protect the team. And those two seem like they'd be really good, especially if you had like a Mara also granting damage immunity and a bunch of men stacks to him. That definitely seems like it'd be worthwhile. Or like a Medfill who can grant damage immunity or something like that. Or like Assault Warsuit Lex who can just become damage immune. Then you're cooking right there, and I think that's a really good way to counter the meta is just be damage immune. So Ivy seems like she's in a good spot right now if she's on the right team. Medfill. So he seems like he'd be okay, just because his Hypnotic Light can just completely remove somebody from a fight, depending. And then his leadership ability is really good. Well, I shouldn't say it's really good. It's definitely a good ability for those who really don't have a better option. I loved him for a long time. He was really good for me. His damage immunity also gives you a shield, which is nice. And then you upgrade on it, gives an additional turn, so I can give it 2 turns of damage immunity, which is nice because Ivy's taunt lasts for 2 turns, so they pair up really nicely. Green Arrow Castaway. So Green Arrow Castaway is actually really, really good right now, I think, aside from if your opponent has a low gear Lobo, where he could potentially counterattack with his quickness and kill the Lobo and start the chain. But he does purge quite a few buffs, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people underestimate right now is just being able to purge off all of those silly buffs really rapidly. Oh, what'd I do? Yeah, whatever. So he's definitely a good pick right now, I think. He can just eat away at the other guys, and he's really fast, so it's helpful. Flash is really good right now against Deathstroke just because his speed punch can hit multiple times, and if you get one speed going, he just kind of obliterates anything in his path. So I'd say he's in a good spot right now. Captain Cold, if you have, have him, he's definitely worthwhile because he can purge buffs on his AoE. He can just totally control somebody with his slip and slide. And then his basic attack, just being able to control him again, is just pretty good. Not to mention he gets free counterattacks for everybody, depending. So he's worthwhile if you have him. World's Greatest Detective has a lot of purge effects. So can purge a bunch of buffs on his basic, can purge a bunch of buffs on his explosive batarang, and then his situational awareness gives everybody the ability to purge buffs. Like, it's not a huge ability, it only gets up to like 13% or something. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. So it's not a huge percent chance, but just being able to remove buffs randomly is very handy. So he's definitely worthwhile in the current meta, especially if you have his, granting somebody a turn or reducing cooldowns of every move you have. Like he's in a good spot right now, I think. He's definitely worthwhile and worth considering if you're gonna go up against Deathstroke. So I really like where Batman's at least World Grace Detective. Aquaman. So Aquaman has one thing going for it, and that's his trident. And it applies up to 4 bleeds, fully maxed out. And if you apply 3, you can stun the target if you have the legendary upgrade. Right there, that is the win condition against Deathstroke. You're going to bleed him 3 times, you're going to stun him, and then those bleeds will tick on his turn while he's stunned and remove the rest of his awareness. So he's okay just for that. He also can grant turn meter up to your team, which is nice, and give him crit immunity, which hopefully will keep everybody alive. So he seems like an okay pick right now. I wouldn't say he's terribly great, but he's definitely okay. Siren. Siren is one who's really, really good right now against Deathstroke. In particular, if you got her true damage per bleed on the target, as long as you can apply some bleeds with somebody else, the true damage should eat away Deathstroke really quickly. That awareness is just going to evaporate because of the true damage. It also evaporates the bleeds, so she's just in a good spot right now, I think. Grundy, I wouldn't say he's terribly good against the meta. He definitely is part of the meta because of Deathstroke, but I wouldn't say he's terribly good against it, other than his the Undying taunt. It just makes him sit there and taunt and protect your team, and he's really, really bulky. Has the most HP, I think, outside of Ares or Katana being a leader. I think he has the most HP in the game. So, he's an okay pick. Camo. Now, I know this character gets a lot of flack, but hear me out on this. Toxic Spill, it definitely needs an update to apply more bleeds, but just 2 bleeds that never fall off and cannot miss. That is important. So I don't care if you're evading. I don't care really at all. Also, if you hit me, you're gonna get a bleed. It seems really, really good right now in the current meta. Just bleed stacks, bleed stacks, bleed stacks. Him being energy and special damage also means that he's just gonna eat away the characters when he does connect, because they're not terribly strong versus special damage. Lobo versus Deathstroke. His bleeds can't miss versus Harley and her evades, and bleeds in general are just really good against both of those two. So he's pretty good against the 2 that are the main problem. Against himself, he's not the most damage, so he's not going to kill a Lobo that's ungeared necessarily, so that's definitely a plus as well. Dr. Poison, you're looking at this ability right here for her main draw. She does damage that's not related at all to anything just because it's 9% max damage. Max health as damage dealt. So it also does a single bleed. I wish it did a little bit more, but the true damage just eats away the awareness. No problem whatsoever. And she heals your team, which is good. So, and then I didn't get a chance to take the upgrade, but applying heal immunity is really good as well. So she definitely seems like she's in a pretty good spot right now against the meta. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Cheetah, who is an absolute monster against the meta. Swift Slash being upgraded gets the 100% hit chance, applies 4 bleeds, which just eats away those characters altogether. And then you have Blood in the Air, which obviously speeds up the rest of your team and gives you a bunch of strength ups. So she is in a very, very good spot right now. Again, despite being a mystic, her speed kind of makes up for it. She can get in there before anybody. And if you have the upgrade, her basic attack can't miss against Harley, who enrages her, so you don't have to worry about her necessarily dying to counterattack randomly on turn 0. So that's definitely a plus. Alright guys, let me know what you think. Now, as always, enjoy and grind on.